All right, so recording started. Sitting on your mat, on a blanket, folded blanket, or foam or bolster, whatever it is that you know is appropriate for you, in a way that the legs can rest to the floor, so that they're not pulling upwards enough height that the legs can drop. Roll your inner thighs down to the floor, belly flesh to agni and back, so that you sit with equal weight on both buttock bones. Lift the sides of your body without pushing the floating ribs forward. Keep a sense of connection front waist to the back waist. Widen across the collarbones. Widen across the upper back. And take your hands into Namaskarasana. Let your eyes draw deeply in towards the back of your head. When you begin to observe yourself from inside. Slow, soft, deep, peaceful inhalations. Slow, soft, deep, peaceful exhalations. Observe the state of tension and relaxation. How can you keep the structure of your posture firm, stable? And how can you relax from inside? Letting go of any gripping, any holding on tightly to the brain. Relax your brain. And let your brain begin to flow downwards, flow towards your heart. As you start to quieten, move deeper within, don't let the head start to drop forward. The trunk lifting, spine lifting, sternum spreading and lifting from inside. Your head stays on top of your spine. And in that structure, how you can relax your brain, release your brain downwards. Eyes also move deeper into the back of your head and begin to flow towards your chest. Your eyes are flowing into your lungs, right eye into the right lung, left eye into the left lung, and your brain towards your heart. So we consciously have the intention of being in an optimal state to learn, not just on the intellectual level, but from the cellular level, that the body's intelligence can also have space to come through, and it's that intelligence that is most effective in understanding the teachings of yoga. The intellectual level wants to ask too many questions, gets confused, gets drawn into the wrong things. So we need a certain amount of intelligence from the level of the mind, but we want more awakening of the intelligence from the body. Cellular intelligence, and then deeper intelligence that's beyond the mind, beyond thought. We chant Om 3 times together. Again, lift your sternum, relaxing your shoulders back and down. Relax your face, relax your brain. And with your next exhalation, bow your head. And once more, surrender your brain to the seat of your heart. Release the back of your hands to your thighs. Inhale, slowly lift your head. And quietly let your eyes open towards the floor in front of you. Okay, good. So, I'm just going to run through a little bit about what the next few weeks is going to be about, these workshops. So we're starting today with the workshop on knees, but it won't be the only one because there's different elements that we have to look at, which I'm going to explain shortly. So basically, we have to look at what is the root of the issue. So even if you have an injury, often why did that area take strain? Why did that area give? Why is that the area that you're having problems with? So it's not just an outside cause. We have to look at what our underlying structure is that made us susceptible to that injury. Not to say that things can't happen outside of our control, but we have to bring the responsibility back to ourselves, as with all things in life. So, I'll come back to what causes, some of the causes of knee issues are, but just to give you an idea. So this is the plan going forward. This week it's the first knee workshop. Then connecting into this week, because it's one of the main causes of knee issues, are hip openings, or hips. So if the hips are tight, the knees often pay the price. So we'll do hip openings. Then week 3, we're going to look at how the feet are affecting the knees, and also the hips. Then week 4, we're going to look at how overstretching of the legs or understretching of the legs affects the knees. And then we will have maybe a week of where you can ask some questions and I'll respond to questions. And then we'll carry on, we'll do shoulder openings, and you can also give me your questions and suggestions of things that you would like to work on. Okay, so back to the knees. So long term, we have to address the root causes, the hips, the feet. Yes, there may be an injury. There may be times where the damage is quite severe and that you may have to even look at operating, but I do believe that you should first give yourself the best chance of avoiding an operation. If you're going to have to do one, you're going to have to do one. So you might as well just give yourself a little bit extra time, and I've really seen some amazing improvements. So remember that slow and steady wins the race, and especially with knees, you don't ever want to force or aggress the knees. Just what we're going to do little by little, how to manage pain and how to strengthen. All right, so I've spoken about the hips, I've spoken about the feet. What I mean by the hips is that when the hips are closed, it's a much bigger joint, it can become much more rigid. The knees are a smaller joint, much more likely to give where the hips won't. Not to say we don't have hip problems, but the hips often pay the price. Then starting from the feet often collapse, the inner foot, the arch of the foot, the ankle, the whole inner leg collapses, and then there's a strain on the knee. Also, the bandy leg puts a strain on the outside of the knee. Overstretching the leg, understretching the leg. So then we work at correcting on either side of the issue, from the hips, from the feet, and how as we correct and open and stabilize those areas, then the knee doesn't have so much strain on it and then begins to become more mobile and have less pain. Then the other thing we're going to look at, and which is our main thing for today, is managing the pain in the knee. So how to adjust certain poses that you don't feel pain. So number one, it's not aggressing, but we have to create a certain amount of space and support for the knee that resting and healing can start to take place. And as soon as we are able to relieve pain, we know that we're moving in the right direction. So some people have pain in standing poses, some people in kind of the straight bent leg position like this. Some people it's more the Sukhasana position and Padmasana positions. So we're going to look today at how to manage that, so that at least when you are doing a pose in a class, while you're doing all this other long-term work over and above that, how you can still manage to get into some of the poses, maybe not as far, but that you can still do your practice without aggressing and taking the pain away. Then the other thing that we're going to look at is how to strengthen and mobilize the knees at the same time. So give it more mobility and stability, which is bringing that balance that yoga does. Okay, so for today, we're talking about pain. In general, it's the same as it is for the knee, is that when we have pain in the body, it creates fear. Fear to feel that pain, which makes us tighten up and we become more tense. Then that tension ends up holding on to the pain. So you see how it becomes a negative cycle. Instead of us releasing the pain and addressing the injury, the fear of that pain makes us close up. And that makes us only keep that condition for longer. So we have to understand that we're not looking to create pain at all, but we have to manage it in a way that we can address it, not push it under where it's only going to create more issues later. So what we're going to do today is find ways of how to support the knees, support the body, that the body feels safe, so that the body can relax and let go, and this relaxing and letting go then facilitates the healing process. Because when there's tension, there's a constriction of blood vessels, there's not as much blood flowing, we're not moving to our ability. That tension lessens how much you would be able to move. Okay, so what we're really doing with this positioning that we're going to learn about is we're creating an optimum environment so that the body's capability to heal, its natural ability to heal, is facilitated, is supported. So that's another thing that today's theme about is also connecting with and trusting the body's ability to heal itself. So what we're doing in yoga is we are working with that innate intelligence of the body, helping it, supporting it, by positioning the body in a way that through correct alignment, there's no strain on the injured part, through support, that part can let go, and through consciousness, through awareness, we're bringing life into that part of the body. So you see there's different layers of how we work. And don't worry, it might seem like a lot, but as we begin to start to practice, it will all start to make sense. So that's why when we started and we sat, I specifically said, we don't only want to take this in with the intellectual level of the mind, this has to come in a sense that the body understands it. Okay, so we're at home and not in a yoga studio. So we need a little bit of equipment. I'm just grabbing my stuff that's at the side to help. So if you don't have belts or ropes, ropes are fantastic for knee issues, especially in the sitting poses and the bent leg poses. So why a rope and not a belt? So you see a belt is very flat. The rope has this rounded shape. So for behind the knee, it's really great to be able to put something with a rounded shape behind the knee to create space behind the knee. So now if you don't have a rope, it's not an issue. Iyengar didn't start having a full studio. He created these props as he went along, and he had to use things that he could find around him, and later made them more and more accurate according to what he wanted. So for example, this is my gown tie, and it's quite soft. It's actually better than a belt, because this I can double, I can even kind of twist it to get that round shape, and I can place it behind the knee, okay? So your gown tie doesn't come off, you don't have a gown tie. What are your other options? You can use a scarf, you can use even a t-shirt. Roll the t-shirt, roll it up, put it behind. You could use a cloth, a hand towel or a face cloth, something that you can make into a round shape to place behind. The towel and t-shirts and books, all those kind of things can also become supports for underneath the knees. Okay, so the first pose that we're going to start off with, move a little closer to the camera, is the pose that we start off sitting at the beginning of each class. So, Sukhasana or Swastikasana. So I spoke about how the hips can create knee issues. So here the knees are tense, they're not resting because they are higher than my hips, if I turn from the side, okay? So what if I was sitting on the floor and I had tight hips, this might be my position. So how am I going to help the legs to relax, to rest, instead of to hold on tight? I have to take support. So I take a folded blanket. If you don't have, I'm sure you have some blankets at home. Towels are also okay. Even like a big book, a dictionary or something like that. So I really love books. So I say it with the intention that obviously you use it carefully without damaging. So you have to lift high enough that the legs can rest down. Now, mostly we are positioning in Sukhasana, Swastikasana, that the feet are underneath the knees, so that eventually the knees will rest into the feet. However, you may have given yourself height. Your knees and your hips are the same height. Let me just grab another blanket to make it higher. Okay, so your knees are now not higher than your hips, but there's still space between your feet and your knees, which means that you are still gripping somewhere, okay, in the legs. So the next option is to create a support underneath both knees. So this little towel is maybe a little bit thin. Depending on your height, you can wrap a blanket around the front so that it comes between your knees and your feet. Or you put on each side, depending on what it is that you've got. And you want the knees to rest on the same height. So this is not a symmetrical pose, but you are creating as much symmetry as possible. Now, if despite giving yourself more height, supporting the knees, you still have pain, then you're going to take your rope, your gown cord, whatever, and place that into the space behind your knee, and you pull from the outside and the inside to soften the ligaments of the knee, and then your leg comes back to its resting position. There might still be some people that despite a lot of height, say you even have your blankets and a bolster, but the knee hips are so tight that still there's this kind of lifting up. In this case, you can tuck the feet a little bit closer towards you. Now, as you tuck the feet in, the legs are more willing to drop. However, you can see why we don't give this as the first option, because look at the height of one knee and look at the height of my other knee. Can you see how I'm now no longer balanced? In which case, I would want to support a little bit to bring whatever balance I can. So this is the last resort for getting the legs to release down. But at least you get this feeling that the legs can settle, that the legs can rest, and that from inside or from the hips, there's not this gripping, that there's this sense of the base of the pose having that steady, settled, even feeling. All right? So you can now play around with your Sukhasana as you're sitting there and see which is the best position for my legs. And you can do the one cross and the other cross. For those of you that have easy Sukhasana, Swastikasana, it's the same pose, you can go and see in Ardha Padmasana. If the knee is lifting, same principle. You take more height underneath the buttocks. Number one, you want your knees to be resting more or less at the same height. If there's pain in your Padmasana leg, then you see does creating some space behind the knee help the pain. So you are choosing according to you. Tighter hips, you're sitting in Swastikasana. Easy, easy Swastikasana, that you could sit almost flat on the floor and your legs are with the buttocks and your knees are still resting down. Then you can go to Ardha Padmasana. Okay? So I'm going to just come and check how it is that you're sitting. That's it. Okay. Can't see all of your knees. So try and make the camera that I can see. That's it. Good. So sitting on a block. So Katya, your knees are still not resting on your feet, which means that you should have a blanket or something between your feet and your knees. Katerina, your blanket underneath your knees is good, but you could take it a little bit more just to underneath the knees and not underneath the thighs. Okay, so this is an important point, all right? When you supporting in many of the poses is not lifting. You're supporting just enough that your knees can rest. But I don't have so much support that I've lifted my legs. You understand the difference? Let me go from the side. So if I pull the blanket too much under the thighs and I have too thick a blanket, I'm now lifting my legs. The purpose of the support is to let my legs rest. So your amount of support is very important. Too much, and yes, you might have a more relaxed state, so it's better than nothing, but you're not allowing your capacity for opening to be there in this moment. Okay, good. All right. Stretch your legs for a moment. Stretch them straight. Look at your knees. All 4 points of the kneecap should be facing up to the ceiling, all your toes facing up to the ceiling. And from all directions, how you squeeze the knee, from inner knee to outer knee to inner knee, front to back, back to front. Squeeze the knee and make it compact. And now you're going to change the cross of your leg. So you will, if you can't remember which cross was your first cross, cross automatically and then swap and do the other cross. Okay? You should always, each day, change the cross of your leg. So this is not a symmetrical pose, and I'm sure for many of you, you can feel the difference between one cross and the other. You should do it every day until it becomes that you're not even sure which is your automatic cross, that both sides feel equal. Okay? Enough height. Now you may see on one side or on the other side, it's not the same, all right? What you always have to be sure of with the knees is that you may feel a bit of stretching, and stretching in the quadriceps as well, but not pain in the knee. If there's pain, it means that we have to keep adjusting, keep finding the correct position until there's no pain. Good. So finding your support, I'm coming to look again to see if it's a bit better. That's it. Make sure your knees are equal height, not one higher than the other. Make sure that you have the feeling of the legs settling and resting. No pain in the knees anywhere. Knees are resting, legs are resting. Now with that position of the legs resting down, you can start to feel how the trunk can lift up. So everything can help something else. So we're talking about positioning of the legs for the knees, but that same dropping down of the legs that's going to help the knees rest is also going to allow the trunk to lift up more. Because when the knees are lifting, then the trunk is going to drop. So they're in inverse proportion to each other. The more the legs relax, the more the trunk can lift. The more the legs lift, the more the spine drops. So our positioning in our sitting poses has to be that we have this grounding in the legs and this lightness in the trunk. Good. Stretch your legs again. Dandasana. Take your buttocks back. And again, squeezing the knees. So, why am I squeezing the knees? Because what I'm doing is I'm pulling everything back into its position. So, this is a good thing to do, especially after Padmasana type poses, Sukhasana also, even after Virasana, all the seated positions, afterwards with the straight leg, how you pull the knee back into place. Good. Okay, now you're going to come and sit in Baddha Konasana. So on your height, feet together, soles of your feet together, knees apart, Baddha Konasana. Now here, we're asking for a different kind of opening and more opening from the hips. So some of you may have had no pain in Sukhasana. This is where you might start to feel something in the knees. So what's the first thing you do? You look at the height of your knees as opposed to your hips. If the knees are higher, you're going to lift your height. Lift your height as much as you need to so that the knees can rest down. The other day in class, I think it was Monday, we even used a chair. So you don't have to be shy. You can go as high as you need to so that you can get this releasing from the hips. So the movement is coming from the hips and not only from the knees. Yes, the knees have their role to play, but first movement has to start from the hips. Now, if you still have pain, what you're going to do is, again, same principle as before. Take your rolled up something, place it behind your knee, and bring your feet together. If it's both knees, then you do it, you take something behind both knees. Now, this is where I want you to look carefully. So the ligaments on the inner knee are often hard and tight. So we need to learn to release them and make space. So when you have your cord, let me use this side. Okay, so we're going to pull the cord in different angles on the knee to create different openings. So I'm starting the lower inner side and I'm pulling it out and down a little bit. Then I'm pulling it out and a little bit up and out. So you see I'm creating different movements, different openings with the pulling of the belt. You will feel that one of them will give more relief than the other. So that's the opening that you might need to work on. And with the rope, you can even spread it a little bit. If there's two, for example, if you feel both the lower knee and the upper knee need to open, then you spread it a little bit to get opening at the top and the bottom, okay? And you can do from both sides. So this releasing out, okay? And of course, coming from the hips. Then, when we're coming out of Baddha, okay, I'll let you sit for a little bit longer because some of you are still getting your rolls and things like that. Now here, I haven't given the knee support yet, but when we go into Supta Baddha Konasana, I'm going to give the knee support. Okay, so everybody managed to get into Baddha Konasana, I hope, and have a feeling that there's no pain in the knees. Last thing you can do is you can give yourself a little bit extra space. So take the feet, a little bit further forward. So that can also create more space, that it's not as compact a positioning. If you have pain in these poses, it means that these poses have to be practiced regularly, carefully, without aggressing. But you have to practice them, otherwise it's not going to improve. So going slowly, steadily, do a few openings, a few supported things. What we're going to be doing over the next few weeks, address the issue in one way or another, in a positive way, almost daily, so that you give your body the chance to heal. Okay, hands underneath your knees and lift your knees together. And then you can release your supports from underneath. So why did I say hands underneath the knees? So for some sitting who used to Baddha Konasana, that wasn't long. But if you're not used to sitting for a while, then there's this little bit of a tightening of the body. So you can also move the legs a little bit initially. But I don't want you to strain and harden the hips. Rather use the hands for the time being. Okay. Stretch your legs straight forward. Dandasana again. Stretch your feet away from you. Balls of your big toes in the heels. Squeeze in the knees. Inner knee to outer knee. Front knee to back knee. Squeeze in the knees. Then come again into Baddha Konasana. So adjusting according to what you learned about yourself. Enough height that the legs can rest to the floor. I'm sorry, not to the floor. Not higher than the hips. Okay? Then hold round your feet. If you've got a big height, you will need maybe to take a blanket or a cord round the bottom of the feet so that you can reach. So, for example, if I had to go to the extreme height, I'm on a chair. If you're on a chair, you will need something, a block, a bolster that's a little bit high to just let the feet rest towards the floor. If that's really how you have to go initially, that's also okay. But I suggest at least some height. However, you won't be able to reach with your hands, in which case you will place your cord and then you can still pull up. Now, as I pull up, my forearms can press a little bit my inner thighs out. So that again, I'm creating that opening from the level of the pelvis. And that opening is going to help take the pressure off the knees. So pulling up against your legs. The more you lift the trunk, what did we talk about in the previous pose? The more you lift the trunk, the more the legs want to go down. The more the legs go down, the more the trunk can lift. So how there's this clear separation from the level of the top buttocks down and the trunk up. And then release. Take your hands underneath your knees. Bring your knees together. Stretch your legs straight. Dandasana. Lift the trunk. Stretch into your feet. Good. And now you don't always have to take your hands behind your knees, but for knees that have issues, better to support the knee so that it learns to soften and some of that tightness and that rigidity can go out of the knee. Okay, good. So now for Supta Baddha Konasana. If you have a bolster, that's wonderful. If you don't have a bolster, there's many other things that you can do. You can take your blankets and you can roll yourself a bolster. So you can roll 2 blankets into each other. You can fold them also. Rolling just gives you that nice rounded shape. So at least 2 blankets. This on its own is a little bit thick, okay? Better than nothing, but if you're able to, you take a second one and you roll it. And now you have your homemade bolster. It just means you need more stuff for what we're going to do. So watch. Okay, so you will, if you have a belt, you can place the belt around, as you know, over your feet. And then pull the belt tight. Now what do you do if you don't have a belt? It's not such a big deal. Often these sticky mats are sticky enough that the feet don't slip. However, very easy thing to do. I'm just going to move all these things to show you and show you a little bit more into the wall. So I'm going to take my mat all the way into the wall, and I'm able to block my feet with the wall. So I'll show you here in this direction, my toes are stretched wide out into the wall, so that the wall blocks my feet. Before you go and lie down, those of you who know how to go in, if you're 100% sure that you're not going to miss out on something important, then you can go in so long. What I want you to have, I want you to be prepared. So you're going to need something for under your head, even if it's a softer pillow. If you don't have 100 yoga blankets, that's fine. And then something of equal height, bricks, foams, 2 books that are the same. Rolled blankets are the ideal because they're nice and soft. So, or towels, if you need more. You can make a mini little bolster. Okay, so this is going to be your support for underneath your legs. Okay, so what do I mean by that? You start, very important, whether you're using the wall or whether you've got your blanket, you start sitting on your bolster. Okay, I'm not sitting on the floor, my buttocks are on the bolster. Why? We already learned that the hips are different when they're lower. The opening in the hips is different according to when we are higher. So to start here and then place the feet gives a different opening in the hips, a better opening. Then tailbone buttocks away. You can move your bolster back a bit if you need. And you lie yourself down. Make sure that you have enough support under your head that your head isn't falling back. And now, the supporting of the knees. So you're going to place enough height that your leg is supported, but not so much that your leg is lifted. And you have to balance out the support on both sides. And ideally, it's the same support, same type of support that you've chosen. Once you're here, you should be able to let go completely. If you still have pain in your knee, you know then you need to take your rope or use something behind the knee. So don't forget about the things that we've learned along the way. They apply again and again, okay? So say I have an issue with this knee, I'll put my space creating roll behind it. I'll start sitting on my bolster. Make sure the tailbone buttocks in the right way. Once I've lain down, adjusted my shoulders, I will then bring in my support that's close by, that is waiting for me. I place it between the thigh and the calf, just enough in that the leg is resting, but not so much in that the leg is lifted. Okay? That's it. Good. Towards the knee side, more than towards the hip side. Or you have to feel, where is it that you get the most sense of being able to relax, being able to let go. And now you're going to stay in this position, eyes closed, for a few minutes and work on relaxing the body, letting go of unnecessary tension. In this asana, supported restorative asana, all the work is in getting into the pose. Now that you're here, it's all about consciously relaxing, letting go, breathing, but there's no tension in the body. Not in the outer layers of the body, not in the inner layers of the body. Feel your body resting and let go completely. Stay in this position. You're going to stay for 2-3 more minutes. Keep following your breath. So scan yourself, scan your body to see, where is it that you're holding onto tension? Can you let go completely from inside the hips, inside the pelvis? Can you let go the inner thighs? Can you rest the knees? Can you rest the legs? Observe your abdomen. So this pose is exceptionally good for the abdominal organs, not just the female ones, although especially. So if you're pregnant, if you have your period, this pose is very good. Bianca, I saw that you were here. You can do this one sitting against a chair, lying back. So you haven't got your camera on today, but you do according to what we did last time, where you're leaning back and resting on the chair behind you. Last minute, let go completely. Let go your body. Let go your breath. Let go yourself completely. So most of you should know already how to come up from Supta Baddha Konasana. If not, hopefully you can still see your screen. You can look to the side, so you'll just lift your knees up and down 2-3 times slightly, just a little bit, just to take the weight out of the sacral band. Then you can let your head fall back, come onto your elbows and your hands, and you push yourself up from your hands, lift from the dorsal spine, lift from the sternum. Then when you're right, nearly up sitting straight, pull the buttocks back, and then the head comes up. So the head is not first, the head is last. And then you're going to come and sit back on your support in Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to turn so that I'm facing you, but you can stay the way you are. You're not jumping all over the place. You come up and you sit on the edge of your bolster. Back into seated Baddha Konasana, and now Yoga Mudrasana in Baddha Konasana. Come forward. If this height isn't enough, you can add the blanket that was underneath your head. You can add blanket again that was underneath your knees so that you have enough height, or you just go back onto your chair. and come forward to your capacity. So if you're on a lot of height, to go forward, you may not be able to take the hands easily to the floor, in which case you use the chair. So Bianca, definitely a lot of height and the chair. That's it. And it's not about going down, it's about going forward from the hips. The hips are grounded, rolling back, and how the front of the body can come forward. Obviously, to your capacity without aggressing. That's it. Don't hunch over. Extend, extend, extend the front body. That's it. Then inhale, slowly walk your hands back in towards you. Again, take your hands under your knees and bring the knees together. Good. So, stretch your legs for a moment, Dandasana. Now, we're not doing each and every single Baddha Konasana, Padmasana variation. There's lots of poses in which we have either a Baddha Konasana shape or a Padmasana shape. For example, Ardha Padma Baddha Paschimottanasana is one. What I want you to understand is that in any of these poses, Yana Shirasana, for example, Ardha Baddha Paschimottanasana, some of the other sitting poses, okay, wherever the knee is in this position, you are going to use the same principle in that you're going to take enough height, that the knee is not higher than the hip. You're going to give space, and you are going to support. Those principles are how you protect the knee and take pain away from the knee. And these poses are also working to create mobility and opening from the hips. We have to make sure that we're not doing it at the price of the knee. Okay, good. All right, so I'm just going to unmute you for a moment. If anybody wants to ask a question right now, if anybody still has pain in anything, then you can ask me a question. If you're not comfortable to ask on the recording, then you're welcome to send me messages afterwards, and I'll include the answers in next week's session. Okay, anybody have a question? Anybody? Everybody happy? No pain? Katya, yes?
Yes, I have a pain every time I'm in spread leg seated positions, Upavishta Konasana or Baddha Konasana. When I get out of the posture, I have a pain in my, like sacrum, especially on the left side of the sacrum, yes. It's
Okay.
like very sharp pain, but it's very short, so it's bearable, but it's painful. But for like 1 second.
Okay, so when you say short, it only lasts a moment as you come out.
Yes, when I come out, I put my legs together, it's like a sharp pain, and then everything puts in place and it disappears. It disappears,
okay, so it's not quite, it's connected, but not quite, because it's the pain in the sacrum, not in the knee. But what you can do initially, I'll speak to you more about it, and we'll talk more about sacrum and tailbone pain another day. Try for now not to go as deep. And keep the tailbone into the body when you go, and don't harden and tighten the buttocks in those poses, okay? So that there's not, you haven't gone too far, back off just a little bit, keep the buttocks relaxed, and keep the tailbone in. So sometimes that feeling of drawing the tailbone in, we tighten around the tailbone, okay? And watch that the distance, so these are the buttock bones on either side, and then you have the tailbone in the center. The buttocks shouldn't be closing in towards the tailbone. You should have space on either side. So create space, then bring the tailbone in, and then make sure that the buttocks aren't gripped tighter than they need to. And see if that helps, and give me feedback. Okay. So everybody okay? Everybody else fine with what we've done so far today? Katerina, and then I'll come to you, Celine. Okay. Are you good? Are you saying thumbs up? Okay, great. Celine.
Yes, it's not something we've done now, but I have a very sharp pain in the knee, and it's like electricity going on when I'm in this position, and I try to go.
Upavishta Konasana, forward.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's then just go into Upavishta Konasana. Although we were going to do the bent leg poses today, it does link in a little bit to the opening of the hips from Baddha Konasana. So what happens, and you move a bit further back now, is that number one, you have to watch the placement of the legs. So some people want to roll in, some people want to roll out. So observe in Upavishta Konasana, go into Upavishta Konasana, and observe your legs. Are they rolling in? Are they rolling out? Neither is correct. The position of the leg is at the center of the back heel. Sorry about all my stuff. It's like a playground when you start bringing out all your yoga equipment. So let me try and show you from here. So you have the back of the heel. The center is the point. Sometimes if the foot is rolling in, you'll be on the inner heel. If the leg is rolling out, you'll be on the outer heel. But that very center point is where the heel is placed, okay? Then go to look at the kneecap. So there's 4 corners of the kneecap. All 4 corners are facing up. So be in Upavishta Konasana and look at your knee and see the inner knee collapsing in. The minute, even just to show you, I do that, I can feel a pulling and a strain in my knee, okay? So that alignment. And then, although you want to relax from inside, there's a slight drawing in of the head of the femur bones into the hip sockets, as you would do in lateral Supta Padangusthasana, which is what we're going to work on next week. Lateral Supta Padangusthasana and working one side and then the other is also a way to help with Upavishta Konasana. So you could, for example, have one leg, so kind of like Parshvayana Shavasana position, or we could call it either Baddha Konasana or either Upavishta, not really, but here we have a Baddha Konasana leg, here we have an Upavishta Konasana. So we work one side at a time. So you come forward, and you don't go to the point that you're aggressing. You're not trying to stress your body and make your body's instinct to tighten up. You're trying to go to the point where you are challenging something's happening that you're letting go. Yes, Katerina.
So if you have a look at how my back is, I have to sit on a lot of support so that I don't hunch. So I'm sitting on like a substantial amount of support, and I'm doing what you say, but look how high my knees are off the floor. Should I put something to like...
That's a very, very good point. You can take a little blanket, your towel. So if you have this big space, especially those who tend to overextend the back of the knee, so you've got a lot of height. She's got 2 thick books and a blanket. So say she's got a lot of height, then yes, you're going to be up high. So especially if you have a knee issue, then something rolled, something rounded behind the knee to support the knee is a very good thing. So that's another thing for you, Celine, that you can try and put in that support, okay? Enough height under the hips so that you're not going forward from the waist, you're going forward from the hips, support under the knee, alignment of the leg, okay? So that you can carry on with tomorrow by yourself for the next couple of days, and we will come back to the straight leg issues next week, okay? So let's just go with Vajrasana and Virasana. Okay, so often, especially beginners, they come and they cannot sit like this. So, different way of applying it, but the same principles in that we have to create optimum alignment, space, okay, and height. So, if you're sitting like this, it doesn't help to hang on here, to float. All you're doing is putting more tension into the body instead of releasing it. So, for beginner, I say that you can leave your feet initially, there's enough going on. But if you've been practicing for a bit, you tie your ankles. Why? Because the heels have a tendency to fall out. So we are trying to keep the alignment. The more the feet also stay together, the more we are helping the arches to activate. So if this is bearable for you, you tie the ankles. Second thing is your blanket behind your knees, the rounded edge. Pull it behind your knees and come and sit. Then, for some of you, you still may need more height under the buttocks, which is fine. And even in certain cases, you will still need your something round behind the knees. So the blanket may not be enough, in which case you come forward and the side that you have the issue, you pull. You see what I'm doing with my hands? I'm pulling the belt equally from inside and out, forward, so that the knee isn't shrinking and closing behind. Okay. There's one more thing that you can do in this for places where really you feel pain and the hardness of the floor you're struggling, besides putting a blanket underneath your feet, because of also sometimes in the beginning the bones of the feet struggle. Last option, but then you need enough equipment again, is to sit on bolsters. Same thing, you'll have your supports behind. You may need something on the floor because you might not be able to get up from this low if your body is less well trained. Okay, so the advantage of this one also, can you see how it's lessening that stretch of the ankle? So it's much softer, all right? This can also be done with making a little pile of blankets. So, for example, I can have my blankets and I can turn it this way, that my foot is a little bit off the blanket. So this means that it's more bearable from the level of the foot for those with very tight ankles, okay? So, this position, you should have, again, to be able to adjust your height, your support, that you're able to sit with the feet pointing straight back as much as possible. That's why we have the belt. If the heels are falling out, you have to see how much can you bring them in. If you don't have a belt with a buckle, still a loose cord wrapped around can still help. You can wrap it in a way that just holds them together a little bit. Okay, that's it, good. So this is simple enough, but when we come to Virasana, things become a little bit tricky. And we will do Virasana again. I'll just touch on it today, but we'll do Virasana sitting between the feet when we talk about the feet's impact on the knee, because how the feet are positioned is going to also affect the knee. For today, just the most basic, the most simple things that you can do. You can put a blanket underneath to help the bones of your feet. You have your belt behind whichever knee or both knees, and you are sitting not on the floor, but on enough height. So you make your height underneath your buttocks as high as you need to. Don't be shy about going high. For example, I could take my bolster and put a block on top of the bolster, whatever I need, so that I manage to do something. Something is always better than nothing. At least here I make a start of opening the front thighs, of teaching the knees how to bend, especially for people whose knees don't want to bend. So you may be far away from that, but there are some of you here also teachers or training to become teachers. So always look for a way to help your students to do something, to do as close as possible. Maybe I have to go even higher. The ankles and the feet may play a role, and that I'll show you next week, in which case you may have to put a little, for example, if the foot struggles to create this extension at the level of the ankle, then you can always take a little roll and support the front ankle. Now this softens and is not asking as much from the foot. Then, very important, often the knees, once we're in this position, get pulled down. So we have to release the knees forward so that the shins are fully extended. Okay, so I'll just show again. You lift your knee and you release it forward. Lift the knee and release it forward. Okay, Virasana. There's a lot more to talk about in Virasana, and that's coming up, not next week, but the week after. Okay, good. All right, now come forward, and you're going to start with your right. I'm showing on my left because it's closest to you. Turn your toes under, hands on the floor, and squeeze your knee. Inner knee to outer knee, front knee to back, back to front, front to back. Squeeze, and then release. And then the other side. Squeeze your knees. Inner knee to outer knee, front to back, back to front. Squeeze your knees from all directions, locking the knees into the center. Then making sure you don't have blankets in your way, and come into, sorry, I have a lot of stuff around me, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Drop both head down, again for the knees. Make sure your heels are straight back, not falling in. Mostly they won't be going out. Mostly they collapse inwards. Heels straight back, push away from your hands, create a general good stretch in Adho Mukha, and then go to specifically creating that locking action in the knees. And then bend your legs. This time big toes together, knees apart. So a simplified kind of Virasana and way forward. Now if you have pain in this, you know what to do. You don't need me to tell you anymore. You know you need to put space, a roll behind your knee. You know you might need to keep the head a little bit lifted if the buttocks are flying. And if still lifting the head, the buttocks don't come down, and you have that tension, then you need to take a little bit of support so that the buttocks and the heels are connected, even if they're connected through a blanket. Yoga Mudrasana in Virasana. I'm going to put you all back on mute. Okay, then inhale, slowly come up and take your mat to the wall and take your legs up the wall. So let me shift that you can see me again. Have a small folded blanket for under the pelvis. Roll and legs up the wall. Those of you who regularly do Viparita Karani and want to do Viparita Karani, take your bolsters, your supports, and you do Viparita Karani. Otherwise, this is Urdhva Prasarita Padasana, 90 degrees against the wall. If you have your period, you're not going to do that. Instead, you can come and lie in prone Shavasana, which means Shavasana on your stomach, or you can do Supta Baddha Konasana again, but since we've done it once, you may want to do something else. So prone Shavasana, bolster underneath you and slide back and rest, head to one side for a few moments and then to the other. So go into your position, either legs up the wall, If you're not menstruating or lying down, and Iyengar, you're on your side, obviously, with all your bolsters and pillows and everything that you need. And now, again, you're letting go completely. Relax your abdomen. Let your eyes sink into the back of your head. Let your brain rest into the back of your head. And go with your breath. So some of you who've joined in may not have any issues, maybe teaching or learning to teach, so this serves for that purpose, but sometimes we tweak parts of our bodies, you know, we knock our knee into something, we step funny, so having an understanding of the principles of what to do when there's pain in the body will always serve you. And those same principles are very often applicable to other parts of the body. So things that we are going to learn for the knee, for example, especially when it comes to the overstretching of the knees, will also serve you in understanding the overstretching of the elbows. The principles of creating space go in every pose when there's pain or when there's tightness in the body. So the more you understand, the better your practice can become, and the more responsible you can become for your own self. In that when you have something going on, you know what to do. You know, okay, I need to practice in this way for a little bit. Slowly cross your legs against the wall. Sukhasana, swastikasana, as if you're sitting on the wall. Slowly stretch your legs and change the cross of your legs after a moment. Then stretch your legs once more. And bend your legs and push yourself back from the wall. Move all the way back until you can come lie in Shavasana. If you were doing prone Shavasana on your stomach, you can come lie on your back. Now in Shavasana, you will want to still create that support for the knees. So it doesn't have to be as much of a height as you would have, for example, if you had lumbar pain, but you still want to give the back of the knees that sense of being held, of feeling safe, of feeling supported, that you can rest. So something behind your knees, tailbone buttocks away, arms to either side, and let go completely for a moment. Make sure you're warm enough. Don't be lazy when it comes to your Shavasana. So at the beginning of the class, we started by setting the intention to learn, not just from the level of the mental intelligence, but from the cellular intelligence of the body. So now, your body in Shavasana is going to let go, your mind quiet, so that again, that deeper intelligence can integrate everything that you've learned today. So as you let go, Melt into your breath, melt into the earth, sink deeper and deeper into the earth, and allow yourself to be for a few moments, trusting that any thoughts, even about the practice, are only going to get in the way of that deeper intelligence of the body that is beyond the level of thought. So as you let go, as you rest, you allow that organizing ability, universal organizing ability, to do what needs to be done to integrate what you learned today into the cellular body. And that means that even if you can't remember everything that I said today, you start to practice. And as you start to practice, then you begin to remember from the level of your body, this is what I need to do. Oh, if I put something behind my knee, that will help. So don't worry if later on today you can't remember what to do. But when you get onto your mat again, maybe this evening, maybe tomorrow, then see how it comes back. And obviously don't leave it 3 months before coming to try this again. Do it a few times, the things that we've done today, over the next couple of days. So for one more moment, just let yourself be. Okay, I've gone a little bit over time, so if any of you have kids or appointments waiting for you, you can slowly make your way out. For those who want to stay longer, because you can, then please stay. I'm going to say namaste now and end the meeting. Thank you very much for joining me and allowing me to share what I have to share. And lots of love and light, and we'll connect on the mat again soon.